Nexus Station was the biggest trading place in the galaxy. Every day, thousands of aliens walked through its metal halls. They came from different worlds to buy, sell, and make deals. The station had seen every kind of creature. Big ones, small ones, ones with tentacles, ones with wings. Nothing surprised the people of Nexus Station anymore. Or so they thought. Commander stood near the main entrance with his officers. He was a species that looked like giant insects. He had 4 arms, hard black skin like armor, and sharp mandibles that clicked when he talked. They were proud warriors. They believed size and strength were everything. Was watching new arrivals come through the gate when he saw something strange. A small creature was walking toward the registration desk. It had soft pink skin, no claws, no armor, nothing dangerous at all. It was a female, and she was tiny. She barely reached the chest of most aliens on the station. But that was not the strange part. Walking beside her was a monster. The beast was 3 meters tall at the shoulder. It had thick silver-gray fur covering its massive body. Its paws were bigger than dinner plates, and each one had claws that looked like they could cut through metal. When it opened its mouth to yawn, saw rows of teeth designed for crushing bones. Every alien in the area stopped to stare. His officer, a younger named, moved closer to his commander. His voice was a whisper. "Sir, what is that thing?" Studied the pair carefully. The small pink creature walked calmly, like it was taking a pleasant stroll. The massive beast walked beside it, matching its pace perfectly. "I think I understand," said, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "The large one must be the intelligent species. The small pink thing is probably a pet or a servant." Nodded quickly. "That makes sense, sir. Look at the size difference. The beast is clearly the master." Across the hall, other aliens were reaching the same conclusion. A merchant dropped his boxes in shock. 3 diplomats huddled together, their glowing skin flashing with alarm signals. A group of a species that looked like walking octopuses pressed themselves against the walls to stay far away from the monster. The small creature and her beast reached the registration desk. The clerk was unnamed. His tentacles were shaking so badly he could barely hold his data screen. The small creature smiled at him. It was a warm smile, friendly and calm. "Hello," she said in perfect galactic common. Her voice was soft but clear. "I am here to register the Earth delegation. My name is Party of 2. Looked at her, then he looked at the monster, then he looked at her again. "Earth delegation," he repeated. "Yes, humans. We are new to galactic society. This is our first official trade mission." The beast sat down on its back legs. Even sitting, it was still taller than most aliens nearby. It yawned again, showing all those terrible teeth, and then it looked around the hall with calm, intelligent eyes. Did not know what to do. His training had not prepared him for this. Which one of you is the primary delegate?" he asked carefully. Before could answer, stepped forward. He had been watching the whole thing, and he could not hold back his laughter anymore. His mandibles clicked rapidly, the sound for extreme amusement. "This is a joke, yes," said loudly. He wanted everyone to hear. "You cannot expect us to believe that this tiny soft thing is in charge." He walked closer to. He stood over her, using his full height to look down at her. He had 4 arms and armored skin and sharp mandibles. She had none of these things. "Step aside, little creature," said. "Let the real delegate register. We do not have time for games." Looked up at him. She did not step back, she did not look afraid. Her face stayed calm, but something changed in her eyes. They grew cold like ice forming on water. "I am the delegate," she said quietly, "and I suggest you step back, Commander." Laughed even harder. Some of his officers joined in. "Or what? You will attack me." He spread all 4 arms wide. My people have conquered dozens of worlds. What can a tiny thing like you do to me?" Did not answer right away. She just looked at him with those cold eyes. The beast beside her had stopped yawning. It was watching now. Its amber eyes were focused, alert. A low sound came from its chest, so deep that felt it more than heard it. "I will not do anything to you, Commander," finally said, "but I should warn you about something." "Warn me" was still laughing. "About what?" Reached up and placed her small hand on the beast's massive shoulder. The creature leaned into her touch, but its eyes never left. "His name is," said, "and he does not like it when people threaten me." For the first time actually looked at the beast, really looked at it. He saw the muscles under that fur, each one thick as cables. He saw those claws, longer than his mandibles. He saw those teeth, designed by millions of years of evolution for one purpose, killing. And he saw those eyes, calm, patient, watching him like he was prey. Stopped laughing. But his pride would not let him back down, not in front of his officers, not in front of all these aliens. "We shall see about that," he said coldly. Then he turned and walked away, his officers following behind him. Watched him go. Then she turned back to who looked like he might faint. "I am sorry about that," she said kindly. "Now where were we? Registration, yes." His tail wagged once, and somewhere in the crowd an alien fainted. News traveled fast on Nexus Station. By the end of the day, everyone knew about the humans. In the observation lounge on the upper level, Commander was telling his version of the story. He sat at a large table surrounded by his officers and several alien diplomats who had come to hear about the strange new species. "The tiny thing actually claimed to be the delegate," said, clicking his mandibles. "Can you believe it? Standing there next to that monster, acting like she was in charge." An ambassador named leaned forward. Her species was tall and thin, with skin that glowed different colors based on their emotions. Right now, her skin was flickering yellow with curiosity. "Perhaps we misunderstand," said. "Maybe the humans are parasites. Some species control larger hosts through chemicals or mind control." A fat trader nodded his round head. "Or maybe the beast keeps the human as food, a living snack for long journeys." Everyone at the table laughed. Everyone except a young scientist named who sat at the edge of the group. He was small for his species, with nervous eyes on the ends of his stalks. He did not like the way they were talking about the human. While this conversation happened in the lounge, something very different was happening on the other side of the station. Had been assigned to escort the Earth delegation to their quarters. It was supposed to be a simple job. Walk them to their rooms, show them how things worked, answer basic questions. But as he led them through the corridors, found himself shaking with fear. The beast was right behind him. He could hear its massive paws hitting the floor. He could feel the vibration of its weight with every step. His species, though, were prey animals. For millions of years, they had survived by running from predators. Every part of his brain was screaming at him to flee. But then something unexpected happened. The beast made a low sound, almost like a rumble, froze, expecting to be attacked. But instead, the creature moved to the other side of the corridor, putting the human female between itself and. It had noticed his fear and was trying to give him space. Turned his eye stalks to look at the human, was watching him with a gentle expression. "He knows you are scared," she said softly. "He is trying to make you comfortable." Could not believe what he was hearing. He understands emotions. Understands many things. Reached up to touch the beast's huge head. She had to stretch her arm high to do it. The monster that could destroy half the station leaned down into her small hand like a baby seeking comfort. On Earth, we call creatures like him guardians. They are very smart and very loyal. Watched this with wide eyes. The massive predator was acting like a pet. No, more than a pet. It was acting like the human was its family. "Where do these creatures come from?" asked. His fear was slowly turning into curiosity. Smiled as they continued walking. "A long time ago, Earth had animals called wolves. They were hunters, very dangerous. Our ancestors were afraid of them just like you are afraid of right now. What happened? We became friends. Stopped walking. His tentacles wiggled with confusion. Friends with hunters. It took a very long time. Thousands and thousands of years. At first, wolves stayed near human camps because we threw away food they could eat. Some wolves were less afraid of humans than others. Those wolves got more food, so they survived and had bobbies. Their bobbies were also less afraid. Made a soft sound and scratched behind his ear. His tail wagged, making a thumping sound against the corridor wall. Over many generations, continued, the wolves changed. They became dogs. They learned to understand human faces and human voices. They protected human children. They helped humans hunt. And humans took care of them in return. Fed them, sheltered them, loved them. You turned predators into companions. We turned them into family. And then, when humans went to the stars, we made them even better. Padded sighed proudly. Guardians like have been enhanced with genetic science. They are stronger, smarter, and they live longer. But the most important thing about them is very old. It comes from those first wolves who chose to trust humans. Looked at with new eyes, the beast was still huge and terrifying. Those claws could still tear him apart. But now he saw something else too. He saw the way watched, always making sure she was safe. He saw the way the guardian checked corners before they walked through doors, like a protector scanning for threats. My people have always run from predators, said quietly. We thought that was the only way to survive. Nodded with understanding. Running is smart. Staying alive is always the first goal, but humans learned something else. We learned that sometimes the thing you fear most can become the thing that protects you. You just have to be brave enough to try. They reached the Earth delegation quarters. The door slid open, revealing a simple but comfortable room. Thank you for escorting us, said. I hope we can talk more during our time here. Watched as she walked inside, followed her but stopped at the door. The massive guardian turned his head and looked directly at. For one moment their eyes met. Then did something that made gasp. The beast bowed his head slightly, like a greeting between equals. And then the door closed. Stood in the corridor for a long time, thinking about wolves and humans and a kind of bravery his people had never known. 5 days had passed since the humans arrived at Nexus Station. 5 days of meetings, negotiations, and discussions about trade rights. And 5 days of Commander making life as difficult as possible. He interrupted her during every presentation. When she spoke, he talked over her. When she made good points, he changed the subject. He scheduled important meetings at strange hours, knowing that humans needed regular sleep. He spread lies about Earth, telling other aliens that humans were primitive and untrustworthy. Through all of this stayed calm. She smiled politely. She spoke with respect. She never raised her voice or showed anger. But was watching. The guardian sat in the corner during every meeting, still as a statue. His amber eyes followed wherever they went. At first, the other aliens thought the beast was just bored. But who had started attending the meetings as a junior aide noticed something else. Every time insulted or tried to embarrass her, his ears moved slightly forward. His muscles tensed under his fur. He was not bored. He was waiting. On the 5th day, things finally broke. Was walking through a maintenance corridor on the lower levels. It was a shortcut to the meeting hall, away from the busy main paths. The corridor was empty and quiet, lit by dim yellow lights. She heard footsteps behind her and turned around. Stood at the corridor entrance with 6 of his officers. They blocked the only exit. Their hard black shells gleamed under the lights. Their mandibles clicked with cruel amusement. "Hello, little delegate," said. He walked forward slowly, enjoying the moment. "You have been causing problems, making species uncomfortable with that beast of yours. Perhaps it is time you learned where humans belong in the galaxy." Took a step back. Her hand moved toward her communicator, but one of the guards was faster. He knocked the device from her hand, sending it sliding across the floor. "No calling for help," said. "Your pet is in the habitat bay right now being groomed. That is on the other side of the station. You are completely alone." Looked at the surrounding her. 6 armored warriors, each one twice her size. She had no weapons, no claws, no hard shell for protection. By every measure, she should have been terrified. But something strange happened. Instead of fear, her face showed something like sadness, almost pity. "Commander," she said, her voice soft and steady, "I am going to give you one chance to walk away. Not for my sake, for yours." Laughed so hard his whole body shook. His officers joined in, their mandibles clicking together in a harsh chorus. "You threaten us, a tiny soft creature with no weapons, spread all 4 arms wide. What will you do? Cry, beg?" Did not answer. The floor started to vibrate. At first it was gentle like a distant engine, but it grew stronger quickly. The lights flickered, dust fell from the ceiling. They stopped laughing and looked around in confusion. Then they heard the sound. It came from somewhere far away but was getting closer fast. It was a growl, but that word was too small for it. This sound was like thunder mixed with the grinding of mountains. It was the sound of something ancient and angry, something that had been hunting prey for millions of years. They turned toward the far end of the corridor. Stood there. He was not sitting calmly anymore. His fur stood up along his spine, making him look even larger. His lips pulled back from his teeth, showing every single fang. His eyes were no longer warm amber. They were cold and focused, like targeting lasers locked onto prey. "That is impossible," one of the guards whispered. "The habitat bay is on the other side of the station. There are security doors, locked passages. How did it get here?" "Always knows where I am," said quietly. "Always. He can feel my heartbeat from kilometers away. He knows when I am happy. He knows when I am sad, and he knows when I am afraid." She paused. "When you cornered me, Commander, my heart rate changed. My body released stress chemicals. Felt all of it, even across the entire station. He tore through 3 security doors to reach me. Check the damage reports if you do not believe me." Took 1 step forward. The floor groaned under his weight. That deep growl continued, so loud that it vibrated in the chests. The 6 guards looked at each other. They were warriors. They had fought many battles, but they had never faced anything like this. The beast was not just big, it was purpose. It was protection given physical form. "I am asking you one more time," Commander said. Her voice was still calm, almost gentle. "Walk away, take your officers and leave. Because right now is deciding whether you are a threat that needs to be removed. I can tell him to stay calm, but you have to give me a reason to." His mandibles trembled. For the first time in his life, he felt like prey. He wanted to fight, his pride demanded it, but when he looked into those cold predator eyes, he saw his death waiting there, patient, certain. "Retreat," ordered, his voice cracked. They backed away slowly, keeping their eyes on. They edged around the corridor and disappeared through the exit. Their footsteps echoed as they ran. When they were gone, Growl stopped. His fur slowly settled. His eyes warmed again, turning back to gentle amber. He walked to and pressed his huge head against her small body. A worried whine came from his throat. He was checking her, making sure she was not hurt. Wrapped her arms around his neck as much as she could. She buried her face in his fur. "Good boy," she whispered. "Such a good boy." His tail wagged slowly, and for a moment the terrifying apex predator was just a worried pet, happy that his human was safe. The news about the corridor incident spread across Nexus Station like fire. Everyone was talking about it. The security footage was leaked within hours, and aliens watched it again and again with shocked expressions. They saw his path through the station. 3 security doors, each one made of reinforced metal designed to stop armed attackers. The Guardian had gone through them like they were made of paper. He had bent steel, broken locks, and crushed barriers without slowing down. But that was not the part that scared everyone. The scary part was what did not happen. While racing through the station, had passed dozens of aliens. Security guards had tried to stop him. Maintenance workers had frozen in his path. A group of children from a diplomatic family had been playing in one corridor. Had not touched any of them. He had dodged around them, jumped over them, even slowed down when passing the children to avoid knocking them over. Despite his rage and fear he had hurt no one. The security report listed 0 injuries, 0 attacks, only property damage to the doors that stood between him and his human. It looked right at me, one of the guards told investigators. He was still shaking. It could have killed me easily, but it stopped and looked at me like it was thinking. Then it decided I was not the threat and moved past me. Commander had been confined to his quarters. His career was finished. The High Command was furious about the diplomatic incident he had caused. But while sat alone in shame, the rest of the station was trying to understand humans in a new way. Ambassador of the requested a private meeting with. The meeting happened in a small room with comfortable chairs and soft lighting. Lay on the floor besides chair, his huge head resting on his paws. I must be honest with you, said. Her skin glowed a humble blue color. I was one of the people who thought you were a pet or a slave. I thought the guardian was the intelligent one. Smiled gently. Many species think that when they first meet us, we are used to it. But now I have seen the truth and I do not understand it. Leaned forward, her long body bending like a tree in wind. Your species is small. You have no natural weapons. Your skin is soft. You cannot run fast or see in the dark. By every law of nature, you should be prey. How did you become the ones in control? Thought about the question for a moment. She reached down and stroked fur. The guardian made a happy rumbling sound in his chest. A very long time ago, began, you were right about us. Humans were prey. We lived in a world full of predators that were bigger, faster, and stronger than us. Lions hunted us. Wolves hunted us. Great cats waited in trees to jump on us. Every day was a fight to survive. Then how did you survive? We learned to work together, not just with other humans but with other species. Scratched behind's ear. Wolves were one of our greatest enemies at first. They were smart, they hunted in packs, and they could track us for miles. Many humans died to wolves. Skin flickered with confusion. So how did wolves become this? She gestured at. Because we realized something. Wolves and humans had the same problems. We both needed food. We both needed to protect our young. We both feared the same larger predators. So instead of fighting each other, some of our ancestors tried something crazy. They tried being friends. Just like that, after all that killing. Not just like that. It took thousands of years, many generations of trust building little by little. Wolves who were friendlier got food from humans. Humans who worked with wolves survived better. Slowly, both species changed. Wolves became dogs and they learned to love us. Humans became masters of partnership and we learned to love them back. Looked down at with warmth in her eyes. The massive guardian looked back at her with complete trust and devotion. This bond is written into both of our DNA now. Dogs can read human faces better than any other animal. They understand our pointing, our expressions, our moods. And humans have changed too. We release bonding chemicals when we look into dog eyes. We feel genuine love for them, as strong as love for our own children. Sat back in her chair, processing this information. So your greatest weapon is not technology, it is not strength, it is love. Finished. The ability to form bonds with other species, to turn enemies into family. But that sounds so weak. Laughed softly. Many species have thought so, and then they threaten one of our pack members and discover their mistake. She gestured at. Guardians like are the result of 40,000 years of partnership. They have been bred and enhanced for deep space travel. They are stronger, smarter, and more loyal than any of their wolf ancestors. But the foundation of all of that is simple. What foundation? Trust. A wolf trusted a human trusted a wolf, and from that first moment of bravery everything else grew. Met's eyes. We are not apex predators, Ambassador. We are something stranger. We are the species that makes apex predators want to protect us. His tail wagged at her words, thumping gently against the floor. Looked at the Guardian with new understanding. She no longer saw just a monster. She saw a partner, a protector, a family member who would cross an entire station and tear through any barrier to keep his humans safe. I think, said slowly, that we have much to learn from humanity. Smiled, and we have much to learn from you. That is what partnerships are about. 1 month passed after the corridor incident, and everything had changed. The trade negotiations ended with a result that surprised everyone. Earth had been granted full membership in the Galactic Commerce Collective. Humans would have the same rights as species that had been trading for thousands of years. It was an almost unheard of honor for such a young civilization. But the real change was not about trade or politics. It was about how the galaxy saw humanity. Stories about spread from system to system. Aliens talked about the Guardian who had torn through security doors to reach his human. They talked about how he had spared everyone in his path. They talked about the bond between the tiny female and the massive predator. The beast could have killed every in that corridor, diplomats whispered to each other. But it did not, because the human told it not to. That kind of control, that kind of loyalty, that is power. Some species started researching Earth animals. They learned about dogs and cats and horses. They learned about falcons that hunted for humans and elephants that carried humans and dolphins that swam with humans. They discovered that Earth was a world where one small, weak species had somehow befriended almost every other creature on the planet. It changed how they thought about strength. On its last day at Nexus Station, she went to the departure dock where her ship was waiting. She expected to say goodbye to a few diplomats, maybe sign some final documents. She did not expect to find waiting for her. The young stood nervously near the ship's entrance. His tentacles wiggled with anxiety and his eye stalks kept glancing at. But he did not run away. He stood his ground, even though every instinct in his prey species body told him to flee. Said with pleasant surprise, "I did not think you would come." "I almost did not," admitted. His voice was shaky but determined. "I have been studying, learning about your planet, about how your species formed partnerships with predators." Tilted her head with interest. "What have you learned?" "That wolves are not the only ones. You have formed bonds with large cats that could kill you, with birds that have sharp claws, with ocean creatures that have teeth like knives. Over and over, your species has taken dangerous animals and made them into friends." "That is true." His eye stalks straightened with emotion. "My people have spent millions of years running from predators. We evolved to be scared. Fear is built into our bodies, our minds, everything we are. We thought that was the only way to survive." He looked at. The Guardian was watching him calmly, his amber eyes gentle. "But you showed me something different. You showed me that there is another way. Not running, not hiding, but reaching out, being brave enough to trust." Felt her heart warm at his words. She had seen this reaction before on other stations with other species. The human way of bonding was strange to the galaxy, but once aliens understood it, something clicked in their minds. "Would you," hesitated, his tentacles trembling, "would you allow me to touch him, the Guardian?" Looked at, the Guardian's ears perked forward. He understood what was happening. Slowly, he lowered his massive head until it was at eye level. His tail wagged gently, sweeping across the deck. "He is saying yes," said softly. Reached out one tentacle. It shook badly. He was fighting against millions of years of evolution, against every cell in his body screaming danger. But he kept reaching. His tentacle touched his snout. The fur was warm and soft. His breath was hot against his skin. Up close, could see the intelligence in those amber eyes, not the cold intelligence of a predator calculating an attack. Something warmer, something kinder. Closed his eyes in contentment, leaning slightly into the touch. Made a sound that his species used for crying. Liquid gathered at the base of his eye stalks and dripped down. "I understand now," he whispered. "I understand why you became what you are. It was not about being the strongest creature. It was about building something stronger than any single species could be alone." Nodded, her own eyes wet with emotion. "That is the human way. We are weak alone, but we have never been alone. We carry our pack with us wherever we go." She began walking up the ramp to her ship. Followed her, pausing once to look back at. The Guardian made a soft sound, almost like a goodbye. At the top of the ramp, turned around. She could see beyond now. Dozens of aliens had gathered at the viewports overlooking the dock. They watched the humans with new eyes, not with fear or confusion, with something like respect, maybe even hope. Called down, "Tell them something for me. Tell the other species what you learned." "What should I tell them?" Smiled. Beside her stood tall and proud, his silver fur shining under the station lights. "Tell them that humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology. It was never our cleverness or our tools. It was the moment, thousands of years ago, when we looked at something terrifying and thought, 'I wonder if it is lonely too.'" The ship's ramp began to close. "Tell them that any species can run from predators," added. "But it takes something special to make a predator want to protect you. That is what humans do. That is what we offer to the galaxy." The ramp sealed shut. Through the viewport, watched the ship lift off and glide toward the stars. He stood there for a long time after it was gone. Around him, aliens whispered to each other. The story would spread. The truth about humans would travel from world to world, from system to system. And across the galaxy, a new saying would begin: "Never threaten a human, not because they are dangerous, but because you have no idea what loves them." Looked down at his tentacle, the one that had touched his fur. It was still warm. For the first time in his life, he was not afraid of predators. He was wondering if he could make friends with one.